And you're live.
Hi, I'm Amanda Justice, or also known as AM Justice, and welcome to Books versus Film, one of the first days of QuaranCon, the convention for staying the F at home. So we have a lot of exciting events for you this week. It's April. Oh, hi. And I am all confused. Hang on a second. Oh my gosh. Okay, there's nothing like a technical glitch to kick things off. As I was saying, we have a huge number of fantastic events coming up, April 7th through 11th. Don't forget to go to QuaranCon.com and check out the list, the book sale that we have there. We have an anthology of our winning short stories for you and the full schedule of this week's events. So we are very excited. And now I want to get into our panel on books versus film. Now we've all seen that iceberg beam that has the film at the top and the book at the bottom, and the iceberg is so much bigger than the little tiny tip of the iceberg above the water. But the question we want to address today is, are books always better than the film? Sometimes adaptations actually can improve on the original. And I think we're going to talk about some examples of those. But before we get into all of that, I want to introduce my panelists. So I'm going to start with Sarah. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Sarah J. Daley, the author of Obsidian from Angry Robot Books. It just came out in January. It's my debut novel about a tattooed witch who has to use the power in her blood to raise a sanctuary for her people in a blighted wasteland, and also not the patriarchy. So that's me.
Cool.
And
awesome.
I prefer books to film, but I love films.
Mihir, go ahead.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Amanda. My name is Mihir Wanchoo. I am a reviewer for Fantasy Book Critic, and I am glad to be on so many cool authors. And even though they won't agree, I still stand by it. I'm the least talented person on this panel.
All right, Gray, it's your turn.
Hi, I'm Gray Williams. I'm the author of the Black Magic Market series, or Black Market Magic series even, starting with The End of the Line, and then there's the second book, Strange Ways, which are both out in ebook from Canelo, in all good places where massive conglomerates sell ebooks.
Okay, Scott, go ahead.
I'm Scott Coon. I'm an award-winning short story writer and the author of Lost Helix. I'm a former U.S. intelligence analyst. My work can be found in Wildering Stories, Mobius, the Journal for Social Change, and a STEAM journal at Claremont University, amongst others.
Awesome.
Good to be here.
Awesome. And again, I am Amanda Justice. I write under my initials and my real name, AM Justice. My first novel is called A Wizard's Forge. And it's a science fantasy adventure. So I want to get right into it. So in the title of this session, it's called Books versus Film. So I'd like to get everybody's opinion on which you prefer. And I know some of you mentioned it already, but I'm giving you a scenario. If you were put on a deserted island and a deserted island that happened to have electricity and Wi-Fi, and you could have access to every film and TV series, streaming series, what have you, ever made, or every book ever written or published, which would you choose and why? And yes, you have to choose. So I'm going to go with Scott first on this one.
Well, to be honest with you, I choose movies and TV just out of pure laziness, because you can passively watch TV and movies. You have to actively engage in order to read, which I love doing. And besides, you got the sand right there. You can write your own stories.
Awesome. How about you, Gray?
So if you'd asked me 2 years ago, I'd have said books. Then the pandemic hit, and then I would totally agree with Scott that you don't have to. I could not read for a good 6 months, and yeah, you just need to sit in front of a film, and it'll play for you, and you can keep checking your phone while you're watching a film, you can't check your phone while you're reading.
That's
But
true.
now, after 2 years of pandemic, I'm going back to books again because I'm pretty sure I've watched every film that is in existence at this point. And there are still so many books that I want to read. So I think having access to every book in the world, that would definitely be my decision.
Okay, awesome. How about Sarah? How about you?
I have to say, similar to what Gray was saying about the beginning of the pandemic, it was very hard to read for a while. And it was so easy just to watch movies. But I find books I would much prefer, just because every time I read a book, I find something new in it. And like TVs, it's kind of like, yeah, I've seen it 1,000 times. I can just zone it out. But if I read a book, even the same book over, there's always something new that I find in it. And I don't know, I always go back to stories anyway, and they're comforting to me. So I definitely prefer books to films and
Awesome.
TV.
How about you, Mihir?
Oh, I'm a hard books. The only reason why is because I've seen enough crappy adaptations. So if I'm stuck on that island and I have no one else to complain about, I'm going to go crazier than I would, just staying on a remote island. So I'm going to go hard with books because I know it's a little like, to Scott's point, it takes an active engagement. But, if we magically have access to all the books, why not? I can always reread them. That's what I did in the pandemic. Like when I didn't want to read new books, I would just go back to my old favorites and reread them over and over again. So.
That's a good point.
Mihir, if Mihir had the chance, instead of writing SOS in stones on the beach, it'd be like, did you see the latest episode of...
And hope that you get picked up, or you could put those little messages in bottles and throw them
right
in the water.
All your reviews out into the ocean.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a multitasker, although I do, the curse of cell phones is that I do tend to like be on my phone while the TV's running, and sometimes I miss things, and I don't like that, but it's hard to like put that phone away. And that's one good thing about a book, is that it is completely immersive and totally, I think you can forget where you are, like stuck on this island. And let's say, for the sake of, let's say that it's like an island in the Arctic Circle. So it's not even a fun island. Like, all due respect to people who love their island homes in the Arctic Circle. But anyway, I think that books are sometimes better as an escape. At the same time, I was also one of those people who just like reached a point during the pandemic where I couldn't deal, and I had I've had these periods in my life where I basically just stopped reading. And I do love films and streaming series as a way to get through stories relatively quickly.
Right.
And so that's something that I really do love about that. And books and films are actually different media altogether. And I don't think they should really be judged against each other, which is why, although our title says versus, I think it's both, really. So, and it's just something to suit the mood at the time. So I want to move on to, let's talk about some of our favorites. What adaptations of, and it can be, it doesn't have to be an adaptation of a book. It can be an adaptation of a game, or it can even be like a novelization, like go in the other direction. So if there's been a movie that you thought had a great novelization, let's talk about some of our favorites. So Mihir, I'm going to go to you first with this one.
Okay. I'm gonna go with a left of the field thing with a pick with like a movie which actually made the whole story better. Devil Wears Prada. That movie is one of my all-time favorites. And the book is, let's just say it was meant for a certain crowd. Like it's rom-com, chick lit, whatever you want to call it. I'm not disparaging on that. But the book, I read the book. The story is okay. Like, it has interesting elements. But the movie was so much better. Like, I can still rewatch the movie. I've watched it maybe 100 times.
It's a fun one.
Another 100 times as well. Like, that is just one of my all-time favorite movies. That's just one of the, there are certain definitely picks like that. Then there is Lord of the Rings, which all of us can agree how great was that trilogy. Even though there's been, those books have been out for more than 50, 60, 70 years. And I'll shut up now. But the last thing is The Godfather. I love that book.
Godfather's one of my favorites too.
Yeah. So how about that, Sarah? What else are your favorites?
Well, but as far as book and movie, Godfather was excellent. I mean, the book was really good and the movie was really good.
Mhm.
One of my favorite series I've watched lately, I didn't read the books, and actually I prefer, if I'm going to watch a series or a movie adaptation, I prefer to see it first and then
Me
read the
too.
book.
Yeah, me too.
I really enjoyed the Witcher. I'd never even heard of the series, I hate to say, before it came out. And I was like, I don't know, it's going to be enough. Everyone's like, oh, it's the next Game of Thrones. And Game of Thrones was very disappointing to me because I loved the books, the first, whatever, how many, 5 or 4. The 5th one was all right. But The Witcher, I went into it not knowing anything about it, and I really enjoyed it. It's like, oh, this is fun. It's kind of cool. I like I mean, it has a lot of elements of fantasy that I enjoy anyway. It's not like it's something I've never seen before, but it's just really well done. The acting is well done, and the story is building as it goes on. And I don't know what's going to happen. Like Game of Thrones, I watched the whole thing. I knew it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen. And it really kind of takes the excitement out of it, I guess. You know, there's no suspense when you already know what's going to happen. But if I read a book where I know what's going to happen, it doesn't bother me as much as a movie for whatever reason.
How about you, Gray?
I tell Sarah.
Oh.
I Witcher 3. Am I breaking?
Oh, Gray, wait,
Yeah,
hang on. You're breaking
No
up a
worries.
little bit. I'm gonna go to Scott and then maybe the internet gods will sort you out.
Well, my favorite adaptation is right behind me right here, Blade Runner. It's adapted from Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And it's a very different retelling of the story, but it stayed true to what was important to the story, which was to make the audience question what is real in this world of synthetic humans. You couldn't figure out who's real and what's going on, but the book does it in a very different way. And also the book has an electric sheep in it. And like about a third of the way through the novel, you hit this thing, which I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't read it, that made me put the book down and go, okay, what the heck is going on in here? And if you haven't read the book, you got to read the book. And the sequel, I think, was amazing to this too. So
I loved 2049. I think that's just one of my favorite movies. It was plotted, you know, some people complained it was slow, but I just thought the deliberateness was so purposeful and beautiful, and I love that film. I've always meant, you know, and Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep has been on the TBR probably since I was a teenager and first saw Blade Runner. But somehow it's just never made it. So Gray, let's see if we can hear from you now. Fingers crossed.
So I agreed with Sarah about The Witcher, and I've also played the Witcher video game, Witcher 3, which was absolutely, it's on another level. It's such good storytelling in that game. Absolutely loved it. And so when the TV was announced,
yeah, I think the Witcher. Oh, sorry. I really enjoyed the Witcher series myself, and I have not read the books. Another series, very recent series that I absolutely adored, but I haven't read the books, but I might just go and read the books now, is A Discovery of Witches, which just the performances were fantastic. And I love the story, and I'm sort of a sucker for romance, and there's obviously a very strong romance thread in there, but the series was so well done. So I can't recommend it enough. And I also agree, Lord of the Rings trilogy was fantastic. I have a funny story about that. We had tickets to go see the third movie, and I was doing a home repair. Probably not a good idea to do home repairs before you have something important coming up. I was working with a drill, and I was trying to drill something I was holding in the palm of my hand. And you could probably see that this isn't going to go well. and I was having trouble getting the drill through the thing, and I was really pressing hard, and then suddenly...
Oh, dear.
It did not go all the way through. so because it didn't go all the way through and it didn't break anything, which I could tell, I was like, okay, I don't need to go to the emergency room. The show starts in 45 minutes. It's time to leave.
Like, I'll just bandage it up. I'll be fine.
Yeah, just bandage it up. My husband's like, what, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm fine. We got to go see this movie. It's opening night. I'm not missing this.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
That's some dedication, Amanda. That's some real.
That was true
Priorities.
dedication.
I probably would have done the same thing though. I'd be like, yeah, I'm fine. Just, whatever. I'll just hold my hand tight.
Just a little, pack some, wadding in there and put a Band-Aid on. It's fine.
It's the third movie. Everybody was bleeding in the movie. In the movie, all the characters were bleeding. So you're kind of going there with them. So I'm with you. Look.
Yeah, exactly. Solidarity. So, all right. So now, what about things that we really thought were bad adaptations that we really didn't like? So, Mihir, you and I were talking on the Discord about the Sci-Fi Channel's adaptation of Earthsea, which was, I wanted to bring this one up because there has been a lot of controversy over casting decisions for Wheel of Time and for the new Rings of Power series, and the controversies there are people being upset because people of color have been cast into roles of characters who either didn't exist in the books or were described in vague terms or weren't described at all. But in Earthsea, Ursula Le Guin very deliberately wrote protagonists in an entire world of people where there are no white people, and that was a deliberate choice that she made. And then the Sci-Fi Channel went and cast like a blonde, blue-eyed man to play the lead role, which is, that in and of itself isn't that bad if the whole thing had kept to the spirit of the books. But it's sort of like the whole adaptation was made it about emphasize conflict rather than resolution, and the whole series is dedicated to finding peaceful resolutions to problems. So anyway, I've talked too much, and Mihir, I wanted to give you a chance to weigh in here because this is something I know that you felt strongly about, and also share any other series that you wish had been done better.
Oh, I have a list of all those, but forgive me, I'll that because yes, the Earthsea Ursula, I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing her last name. Le Guin's books are amazing. Like almost everybody who has read them can agree with that. And the sci-fi adaptation kind of went and just took their soul, put it through a blender, added some nice color to it, and said, "Here you go. It's there. Look at all these shiny, beautiful people. Look at them." And I think I've mentioned this previously as well. They hired somebody from the Smallville shows. I believe her name was Kristen Krug, or I don't know how to pronounce it. She's a good actor, but again, she was miscast, and everybody was miscast in that show. Now, of course, I understand it's 2000s. It's sci-fi doesn't have a huge budget. That time it wasn't really people weren't really rooting for wanting to hire people exactly. But yeah, they took the books and they ruined them. And of course, everybody had that show so rightly. But I do have a list of other shows which are more mystery thriller. I don't know if you want to get into that.
No, please. And you guys, the other guys, jump in here too. It's just, but Mihir, please go on.
So some of the movies by Michael Crichton, I know you're a Michael Crichton fan as well, but the Spear movie, which was based on his amazing book, horribly mishandled. The Timeline movie, again, amazing book, horrid movie. I don't know if you guys are fans of has anybody watched the Rizzoli and Isles show, the TV show Rizzoli and Isles? Has anybody heard of it now? Okay.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
It's based on a fantastic series of books by Tess Gerritsen. She's a really good mystery thriller writer, and the books are really good. The books are dark, the characters are intelligent, and the TV show just took those and made them, I don't want to say dumb because it's kind of rude, but they made them silly. Dr. Isles was made more effervescent, whereas it was not. It was horrible.
Okay.
Right. It's supposed to be, it's advertised as kind of like goofy and like buddy comedy type thing, you know?
Yep.
I didn't know the books were dark, so I've never seen the show or read the book.
So
Don't watch
Sarah,
it.
how any thoughts here?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh,
The other Sarah.
I was trying to think of stuff last night, like what adaptations I really disliked. And I have to say that the last couple of seasons of Game of Thrones really went off the rail. I mean, I know everyone has seen, you know, who hasn't seen Game of Thrones, I'm sure, but it was so disappointing. It's like you knew the minute they left the source material behind, and they started like they just all they could manage to do were these giant set pieces, like these big battles. That's all that they cared about. I mean, some of them, like the dragon shooting down and blowing up all the wagons, was really cool. But the battle at Winterfell, I'm like, I don't know what you were thinking by not showing the actual battle at Winterfell. I don't get it. I mean, everything was black. It was obnoxious, you know, to try and watch that at home on your TV. You couldn't have any lights on. You certainly couldn't watch during the day if you'd recorded it.
Yeah.
That really bummed me out. And the Wheel of Time series, I actually don't mind it. I'm not crazy about it. I don't care about the casting. I am actually fine with that. I think that's great. It's like, let's, you know, does everybody have to be white, blonde, whatever, you know? But I thought the pacing was really off. I mean, there's so much crap in that first book, but a lot of it's filler, you know, they're running around half the book. But they managed to keep all the filler and all the running around and like all the pointless conversations from the book. Well, I made up stuff half the time. They kept it in the show and it just dragged it down. Like there was like a few flashy magic-y things and that was it. And I'm like, I don't remember this book being this boring. I remember like racing through it to the end, like this is really, really exciting. But they made some plot choices, I thought, in the show that dragged it down, dragged the pacing. Other than that, I think it has potential. I think it could be pretty good. Because I like the actors and the acting in it. I thought it was, and the changes they made were kind of cool. So we'll see. But so far, I'm like, eh.
Gray, how about you? Oh, no.
It's not that. Oh no, it's gone wrong again, has it?
No, keep going. No, now you're okay.
I think not. I didn't hate it. I was based on Terry Pratchett's books.
Oh, Gray,
I don't think there was anything in there. Oh, am I so dotty?
Yeah, unfortunately, we're losing. Gray is knocking in and out. I'll just interject. I actually really liked the Wheel of Time. I thought that as it went on, in my opinion, it got better. The first couple of episodes were weak, which is kind of almost like a given in television shows. Is frequently the beginnings episodes are kind of on the weak side and it gets stronger as it goes on once it finds its footing. But I liked how they, you know, compressed events in Wheel of Time. And I thought it was sort of admirable. They took a book that was about 800 pages long or 500 pages, however long that first book is, which does have a lot of like dragging,
Yeah.
walking, running,
hiding,
running, walking, we're walking. And I thought that they sort of like leapt to the key events, but I kind of see, you know, I think a lot of it is like finding its footing and the characters, you know, the actors getting into their roles. And it's too bad this stuff doesn't actually get worked out beforehand, but it doesn't. So Scott, I see you nodding your head, and do you want to jump in here?
Actually, I'm not that familiar with that one, but
oh yeah, whatever.
Or any.
Or any.
Well, the adaptation that I found lacking would be Looking for Mr. Gar. It was a wonderful book by Judith Rosner. It's actually one of my all-time favorite books because it gives you the end at the beginning. And the end has all these weird details around the circumstances. So it compels you to read through the whole thing. And the book gives you the internal story of the main character. She goes through all kinds of abuse. She's unable to form healthy relationships, but not for lack of trying. And it's just, it's very sorrowful. And I really felt connected with her. And then by the end of the story, I really was rooting for a totally different ending. I was really hoping that it would not end the way that it began, but that didn't happen. And it broke my heart. And I felt none of that through the movie. I think they just left too much of it behind in the book is the problem.
What was the movie, Scott?
Looking for Mr. Goodbar.
Goodbar.
Oh,
Diane
okay.
Keaton was in it a long time ago.
I've never actually seen that one, but I think that speaks to the idea of when adaptations fail to capture the spirit of the book. So
Yes.
sometimes, sometimes they're just not, sometimes they might take a serious book and try to make it funny or what have you. And that's always really sad when you have something that you really love and that somebody screws it up. So Gray, let's see if we can get you on here.
Should we try again?
Yes.
I was going to go for The Watch by Terry Pratchett, the adaptation that they did. I didn't hate it, but it's a disappointment. And I need to just be not yet capable of creating a Terry Pratchett adaptation that's worthy of the source material.
Yeah.
I like some of the characters. Voice like cyberpunk, quite strange. I don't know why they did that. So I wasn't a fan of that, and I really want to find an adaptation that I absolutely love, but I think I'm gonna have to face that that's not gonna happen in my lifetime.
Yeah, sometimes we have great hopes for something, and I'm thinking about when my family and I went to see the most recent adaptation of A Wrinkle in Time. And I was so nostalgic for the book that I was actually like kind of crying through the whole movie because I was just so joyful to see a book that I had loved on the screen. But at the same time, it really wasn't a very good movie.
Yeah.
And both my husband and daughter hadn't read the book, and we walked out of there and they were like, "Oh, that was terrible." And they were like, dissing on it. And I was like, "But it's one of my favorite books." And I was still like all emotional about it.
Maybe you like filled in all the missing parts for yourself while you were watching
I was.
Yeah.
I think I was, but when I was in college, my friend and I, we went to see Dune in the David Lynch version, and my friend hadn't read the book, and we walked out of it, and he was like, "I'm so confused. I don't know what was going on," and I only knew what was going on because I'd read the book, so I was able to like fill in all of the blanks, that like all of the compressions that they'd skipped, and now I have to say, speaking of bad adaptations, Dune, the David Lynch version.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a big one.
That is a big one. And I actually made the mistake on Facebook one time though of mentioning that how my husband and I like to MST3K Dune, and so we'll like make rude comments through the whole thing. It's actually very highly watchable if you do that, because it's kind of fun from that perspective to watch it. And anyway, I mentioned this in a Facebook group, and somebody, of course, there's always somebody, it was like their favorite movie ever. And they like had to scold me and tell me how I was wrong. So
I love that.
That's where films can win. There's no equivalent of where you just love reading a terrible, but you can love watching.
Ray, can you say that again? Because we lost you.
That's where you can't compete. You don't enjoy reading a terrible film.
Oh yeah. So if I'm going to repeat, because I think I got the gist of what you're saying. You're still breaking up, but you're saying that you don't enjoy talking about a terrible book the way you can enjoy talking about a terrible movie with your friends. Is that
watching it on reading?
Yes. Yeah.
It's hard to MST3K a book.
Yeah.
It is true.
You can only write a Goodreads review about it, apparently.
Just
So you
footnote
don't
it.
Right.
have to mean things.
Right, yeah. The book, there's a panel on book reviews tomorrow, and maybe,
God.
I don't know, maybe we'll get to that, because we've been talking about whether or not we're going to talk about bad reviews. And the thing is that bad reviews are
I'm on it.
fun to read. So, if you're the author who gets a bad review, it's, can be devastating, but you read bad reviews of other people's books and they can be really delightful. So,
I always read bad reviews of books I really like, because I want to see
Yes.
what people think of them. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Yes, no, and it's true, and that always makes you feel better about things, and it just speaks to the gamut of opinion. Like, I'm sure that we probably mentioned a film here that somebody somewhere watching this is going, but that's my favorite movie.
Exactly.
You're wrong.
I'm really excited about the Sandman adaptation coming up, because I love those graphic novels, and I'm just really worried. But although Neil Gaiman's behind this one 100%, because he said he's waited and waited and waited, because he's just not been comfortable letting people try and adapt it, because he wants it to be done right. And I'm pretty excited about it, but we'll see.
He's had a pretty good run with his work being adapted in various forms. So good. I really loved Good Omens and
yeah, and the
Oh,
American
that's-
Gods.
That was great.
American Gods. Yeah, they were really good. And I confess I haven't actually read anything that Gaiman has written, but I did really like his work. And we were also talking about Stephen King and our opinions there. So and I personally like the films and shows made based on Stephen King's work, but I'm not a fan of his writing, so I actually can't get into his books.
I loved it. I loved his writing when I was like 12.
I think I like his movies better because it trims the fat. He's like, he's so big, nobody can say, you should cut this part. No, I'm Stephen King. I'm not cutting any of it. And then you end up with Tommy Knockers, where you get a short story about everybody in the town. I mean, everybody in the town.
Well, I tried to reread it just to skim through it, just to, pick it back up and try and remember the story. And I was like, how did I ever get through this in the first place? There's so much in it. It's just, he does like to go on.
It also depends on when he wrote them, right? It also depends on what state of mind he was in. Because if you look at it also, like, there's like a very, I don't want to say, there's like a weird, I don't want to spoil it as well, but there's a part in between where like the teenager cast, they do something which is really not awful, but it's hard to describe without spoiling it. And Sarah, you know what I'm talking about, but like the film kind of glossed over that. And in an interview basically said he has no recollection why he wrote that or when he wrote that. So it also depends on like his books, like from different eras are totally different, because if he was high, if he was not high, or what.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Because I mean, Stephen King as a writer is, of course, a lot of people have a lot of opinions, but his films, especially the ones which have been really, I think it's like the Green Mile and the Shawshank. And even the same person made The Mist, and I'm forgetting his name. He's the guy who came up with Walking Dead.
You're right. I can't remember.
Who's
Darabont.
Yes, thank you, Frank Darabont. That's him. That he has the magic touch with Stephen King stories. Like, he would adapt more of them, but he has done and I know The Mist is not that much critically acclaimed, but in a very,
I love The Mist.
So good.
Yeah, the way that he ended the movie, The Mist, it's better than the book, better than the short story.
Maybe I'll see the movie. I've never seen the movie because I'm always like, I don't know. Although Shawshank is one of my absolute favorite movies. Shawshank Redemption, I love that movie.
You should. The Mist, if you haven't read the short story, watch the movie and then read the short story. Is the way he made a crucial difference. And Stephen King has gone on record to say that he agrees with what Frank Darabont did. He made the story better.
Okay.
It has a brilliant ending. It's absolutely brilliant. So and heartbreaking too. So and I think that one of the things I do like about Stephen King's stories, and it's kind of exemplary, I think, of horror in general when it's done really well. And I was a little off topic, but I'm the moderator, so I can do that. Is I think really the best horror is about grief and about how human beings deal with grief. And that is one of the things that I actually really liked about it. and that I like about a lot of Stephen King's work is that it's talking about how we manage the loss of our loved ones. So let's see, we're getting, we could maybe go to, I'm just looking what else. I'm going to see if there's some questions. So AF Stewart says the Stardust movie they made from Neil Gaiman's novel was better than the book. So I haven't seen either,
Not
but
familiar with that one.
Oh yeah.
Better. So Mihir, you'd agree that was better than the book?
Yeah, because the book kind of it's a cute story. It's like it has a whimsical quality to it, but the movie somehow managed, and it follows the book as much as possible. Like there's not really that many changes, and of course it has like really good actors. Like Charlie Cox is starring in it. I didn't know he was Charlie Cox back then. There's Claire Danes. There's Robert De Niro. It's amazing. Like the movie is truly magical, and it's kind of like on par with The Princess Bride. Like, and if you enjoyed that, you would love this as well. That's the only way I can put it without spoiling much more of it.
What about The Princess Bride as an adaptation? And I confess I haven't read the book, but
I've never read
okay. Love the movie.
And the movie's awesome.
The movie's awesome.
I'm sorry, I look at the questions. They're talking about the gunslinger. And I've just mentioned that this morning about bad adaptations.
Oh yeah, the art
right. Right.
They were so confused about that. Like, there's so much mixed messaging. Is it like an adaptation of the books? They first said, yes, it is. And then they said, no, it's not adaptation. It's like another iteration. And then they said, well, no, it's like more like a sequel.
Yeah.
It's all over the place.
Make up your mind.
I'm not quite sure why they didn't just do the first book, the Dark Tower book, where he's chasing him through the desert or whatever.
And they had Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey. Like,
I know, it's crazy. It should have been awesome.
You have these two fantastic actors. Just make the same movie. Make the book. You have the book. Make it.
Yeah. So Karen Diem, I hope I'm saying that right, mentions the Harry Potter movies, that she enjoyed them more than the books, although she says that the last couple were weaker entries, and I'd actually, in my opinion, would flip that around. But I just want to point out to everyone I'm wearing my Ravenclaw shirt for this panel. Because I got to represent my house. But yeah, so what about things like Harry Potter and some others, or is Harry Potter so passe that we don't care about it anymore?
I only ever read the first book, and I thought it was cute. I read it when I was like 30, so I was like, oh, this is cute. And then I had to sit through a couple of the films with my younger kids, and I thought they were a snooze. I didn't care for the movies. Sorry, I don't want any hatred thrown at me, but I'm not a fan. That's my opinion doesn't count because I'm not a fan. So
I think those movies. The books would be better adapted as TV shows. I think time it was the movies, or it was either movies or nothing. So which is why the movies made so much money. But I think those books could be better adapted as like seasons of a TV show. I think that would be fantastic. Of course, with J.K. Rowling being who she is right now, that's a football game. So we're not even going there.
Right.
From the books, as a reader who love those books, I think it would be good to maybe just remake them as a TV show. And it's been 20 years since the last movie, or when it was released, or maybe I'm wrong, but at least it's been 15 years or more. So why not?
As a sci-fi fan, my big hang up on the last movie was that two armies of wizards coming at each other. I wanted it to be more epic than it was. I mean, like they did good, but I want huge. I want. This is a movie that probably I might be the only person who really likes. Ready Player One, the epic battle at the end, where it's all the pop culture that I grew up loving takes on an evil corporation inside of virtual reality. That's the level of epic I want to see. It just wasn't there.
I like epic battles too. I never saw the Harry Potter movie, but that would be disappointing if you had all that build up. And it's like, you want to see like a huge, wizard battle, like I want some explosions.
I think epic, but epic battles are tough to do. And, just as you mentioned, the expensive, I think one reason why the Battle of Winterfell was so dark was so they could hide, they hide. And For me, actually, the Battle of Winterfell worked because I sort of felt like it was a kind of fog of war situation. So nobody knows what the heck is going on, and including you, the watcher.
Right.
But you think about like the Lord of the Rings. I mean, those are some amazing
Mhm.
battles. I think all of us in my family, we love the Two Towers because we can just watch
That was awesome.
the Battle of Helm's Deep over and over and over again, to the point where we know every single moment and every arrow and every one liner that gets exchanged between Legolas and Gimli, and it's just and the battle in front of Gondor was
That was awesome.
was so
Last
like
stand.
yeah, I mean, gosh, with Theoden, with his sword and banging on everybody's shields, and it's a real St. Crispin's Day kind of speech that he gives, and they're just totally
It was
epic.
pretty awesome.
It
And
was
the score for those movies too
yes,
was spectacular. I mean, the music added so much just to the general feel and the atmosphere of it. I love the soundtracks.
I do want to give a little credit to Game of Thrones right now, because the battle at the wall was amazing.
yes,
And that for me kind of made the end battles worse. Also, without giving away a spoiler, major character last season changes into a whole different person, it seemed like. I think everybody who knows this thing knows what I'm talking about. And it's like, good, evil.
I
Dude, come on.
no, I
that's
agree.
the biggest complaint, I think, of that movie or that show.
Yeah. It was everything. Like the last two seasons everything was progressed too fast, and they were running out of money, and it was
running out of
just
time.
running out of time.
They weren't running out of money or time, because you know what? Here's the deal. HBO, they actually wanted more seasons and more episodes.
Oh, really?
DB Weiss and Dan, whatever his last name is, they said we don't want it, so they condensed it into like 13 episodes, 7 episodes, 7 season 7, 6 episodes season 8. They actually purposefully just like jammed things, and that's why what's to Scott's point, that last season, that character's the progression doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
Well, that's what I thought too. I'm like, if they had like 2 more episodes in here to really develop the story and make it make sense, and have us see this coming and dreading it. But instead, it was like, here you go.
Those arcs are great. It's sort of like the Anakin Skywalker arc, which on the surface is what a fantastic story, but it just didn't get presented well. Yes, thank you. That's exactly right. Gray, can I get you
argue the 2 last seasons of Game of Thrones, they're the only 2 that aren't based on the books.
Right.
And you can tell.
Well, 5 and 6 partially too,
You can really that what was scribbled napkin.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a good point. One of the things that I really actually liked about the earlier seasons is, some people might complain about some of the changes that they made, but actually I liked, in some ways I thought that the early seasons improved on the books by, for instance, making, the older brother, John, the eldest of the Stark children.
Rob Stark.
By making Rob's romance more on screen and believable and have substance to it, rather than this totally off page, like, I was wounded and she took care of me, and
now all of a sudden I'm in love.
Now all of a sudden I'm in love, to a degree that I will throw away everything in order to marry this woman. Whereas in the show, they developed that in such a way that it was believable that he would do that he would throw away his family's chances, and ultimately, as we know how things turned out. So so I like that, and I wish that the rest of the show had stayed true to that. I'm going to look at some more questions. So we're still pretty much covered everything that's there. So, and So we've got about 15 minutes that we've kind of, what else do we like out there that we really?
I would like to make a case for The Magicians, the TV series.
Heard good
I enjoyed the books. I think Lev Grossman's a good writer, but the TV series' showrunner, Sarah Gamble, is amazing. And she is so good she took the books and she took those characters, and she is so good at putting those characters into the right situation that gives them the most amount of character growth. And I think she does the same for her other series, the Netflix one, You, about the serial killing stalker guy.
That one looked really good.
She is so good at putting the characters into just the right situation, like, or technically the worst situation that really gets the most amount of character growth out of them. I think she's absolutely incredible at that. So yeah, The Magicians, I think, is an incredible series. Well, seasons 2 through 5 are incredible seasons.
So that's an example of a series that took a while to find its footing. So if you say that, so you have to like make it through season 1, and then you're good from there. Is that right?
I think season 1 is the one that's closest to the books.
Well, yeah.
Oh.
Because there's like and again, to Grace's point, those, in the books, like the trilogy of the books, there's a character who's kind of like most of the things what she does happens off screen, but in the TV show they kind of have explored that as well, like how does she get to be where she is and what happens, why does she want to be where the other characters are. So it's good, but it's also very dark. It's actually darker than the books, I would say. Like the TV show has made it darker than the books. They show some pretty, I don't want to say explicit, but they make things, what is shown off the pages in the book, they kind of show it in the show as well. So there's that too.
I'll look that one up.
Yeah. We have a question about from Morgan Tucker about manga adaptations, and what about those? So my daughter has recently, we recently sat through oh shoot. Okay, I'm having a senior moment, but the one with the kid Death Note.
Yeah.
So so anybody like seen some of those that they liked or disliked? Or
I've been watching Attack on Titan with my son. My son had read all the manga. Like he read every single one of them. I didn't read the manga actually, but he's been telling me that it's basically stuck pretty close to the source material, and I really enjoy it. I mean, it's pretty dark.
It is dark.
Eaten all the time.
Attack on Titan is really. My daughter was really into it, and the first time I like walked in the room and I was like, "What are you watching? Oh my god!"
It's really, I mean, it just keeps getting darker though. I'm like,
yeah, it is. I haven't seen the whole thing, but I've seen episodes here and there, and it's good storytelling, but wow.
Yeah, it's
talk about grimdark. Whoa. Yeah.
Anybody watch Edge of Tomorrow or like Edge of Tomorrow?
Oh, I do. I love that movie.
That movie is amazing. Yeah, I haven't heard of the source material, or like I know it's like I think it's like it is a manga too, but I haven't read it. But yeah, the movie is amazing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's a rare. I shouldn't say a rare Tom Cruise. Actually, I like a lot of Tom Cruise movies.
His sci-fi stuff isn't bad. Tom Cruise.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that Oblivion was good too. I thought. Wow.
He does, and my only issue with him is that he tends to play the same character in every movie, and so I actually love it when he departs from that. So, which brings up, hey, Interview with a Vampire. So that adaptation, which I actually loved the adaptation, but I remember because I'm older, so I was an adult when these things happened, but there was like so much like saber rattling over the casting of Tom Cruise as Lestat in Interview with a Vampire, and my friends and I, we were all like banging the table about how terrible he was going to be and everything. And Anne Rice herself was really, really upset that he had been cast. And then she went to the preview or got a preview of it or something. And then she took out like a full page ad in newspapers to say how much she loved him in this
really?
movie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was really, it was something really special. And then when we all went to see it, we're all like, wow, that is not what we expected. And, that was actually a really, really fantastic performance. So, and a great movie.
Wasn't Brad Pitt in the movie as well? I don't know.
Yes,
Brad Pitt.
played-
Brad, right?
Yep.
That's
He
very
would
cool.
play
Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt.
and not
The
Claire
little-
Danes, but
Kirsten Dunst.
Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah.
Yes.
She was
Yeah.
really good. She was
She
creepy.
was really good. Yes.
I was just as surprised as everybody by that. Tom Cruise doing such a good job with that. And I think that the extremely condensed Queen of the Dam was a great movie too.
Oh, I never
Mhm.
saw that.
I've never actually seen that, but so that's good to know that, I've always kind of been curious, but hadn't gotten around to it.
I saw that
Don't
before.
expect it to
Interview with
be-
the Vampire.
The whole story, because it's a short story compared to the novels that it represents, but it was a really good story. I enjoyed it a lot, and it's one of my favorite soundtracks.
Oh. I wanna-
Cool. So we have some questions about someone. Arthur Gordon mentions the Conan movies. I don't know if we're talking about the Arnold Schwarzenegger or the
Oh yeah, Jason Momoa.
Jason Momoa. Yeah. So although either is not great movies, although the first Arnold Schwarzenegger Conan is kind of a classic, not a great movie,
Mhm.
but very entertaining.
Yeah.
My teenage self really liked it, I have to say.
I know. Yeah, same here. At the time, it was
At the
great.
time.
And my
Um,
wife watched both of them over pandemic, and they are a lot more fun when you're a lot more drunk.
Oh yes. Oh, I can imagine. Yes. The second one with Grace Slick and Wilt Chamberlain is pretty unwatchable, as I recall. Even back then, I was like, oh, this is not good. So, let's see who else. Oh, the live action version of Airbender hurt my soul.
Okay.
Says Morgan Tucker.
Oh,
I wanted to bring that up for my stepdaughter's sake because she hated that movie. She loves Airbender so much. She keeps wanting me to watch it. I haven't watched it, but I will. I plan on it. But
It's good.
she just was so furious when she came home from that movie. She was so mad. She's still not over it.
I mean, if you can't even pronounce the main character's name right, for
I know.
God's sakes.
It was bad. It was just
Oh,
bad.
really? That's so sad. Claire Brislin asks, what defines a successful adaptation? So I think that's a really good question, and one that we should probably touch on. So what do you guys think? What makes for a successful adaptation?
I think
think
you need.
if-
Oh.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I think you need to pick your thread. A novel's too big. You have to pick the
Mhm.
thread that you're going to tell the story of. And some novels, you could probably pick 3 threads out of there and tell 3 different movies, and it would all be amazing to watch.
It's kind of
Great
like
point.
writing a good synopsis of your novel.
Yes.
It's like stick with the main points, get across the overall plot, and sometimes you got to lose some of the side stuff, but it makes
Yeah.
for. If you try and throw everything in there, then it just gets confusing, I think.
I think you're aiming at the way that the book made you feel and sort of get that sort of feeling across. I think that's an important part of an adaptation.
If it kind of captures the spirit, right? To Grace's point, like the book
Exactly.
or the movie or the TV show adaptation captures the spirit. And again, coming back to the watch, the TV show Watch and the books are like completely opposite creatures. They don't even, except for the name, they don't share anything at all. The DNA is there, which is why maybe the such a beautiful movie. I mean, not beautiful, but like a fantastic movie. Let's say fantastic. Can't really call gangsters beautiful.
Yeah, I think that it is really, it can be really a challenge, but that is one of the things that is actually nice when someone succeeds in adapting a book. I think I read Cloud Atlas for the first time this past year, and it was and I'd seen the movie when it came out, and at the time it was, you know, Cloud Atlas was supposed to be one of those quote unquote unfilmable movies. And I was surprised at actually how close the movie and the book really are. There aren't a lot of differences between them, and it definitely captures the whole story. But it is nice when, in contrast to the Anne Rice story, although she ended up liking the film of Interview with the Vampire, the novel, the Kindle version of Cloud Atlas that I downloaded has a nice, a lovely little essay at the end written by the author about what it was like to go through watching his book rather being turned into a movie. And it was sort of refreshing to hear like an author like say how much they loved it and were thrilled by the experience. So, because every author really wants their books to be adapted, but then you hear all these, you know, things about authors being unhappy with the adaptations that actually came out. So like
I think Elmore Leonard said, you just go up to the walls of LA and they throw the money in a bag over the wall. You just take it and run.
Yeah.
And that's the only way to deal with it.
I can handle that. Yeah, it's really, I mean, writing a screenplay is nothing like writing a novel. So you kind of just have to let it go. You got to let somebody else take it over. Unless you're a screenwriter too.
You know, they are different media. So you have to, and completely different ways of storytelling and everything. So we are almost out of time. It is almost 4:30. So I'm actually going to wrap us up, and I can't tell you how much I love this conversation. I could sit and talk about movies and books all day. I'm sure that you guys could too. And it's such a pleasure to get together with people to talk about the things that you love. If you viewers want more of this, more of the things that you love, we've got a whole huge weekend chock full of programming. So I think I'm going to, does somebody know, because I should be prepared and I'm not, but what is what's coming up next? So does anyone know off the top of their heads?
Shoot, I had it up a minute ago.
Maybe our it is a couple of readings. So so we have some readings coming up.
2 readings, 3 readings.
By who's the person that is coming? Because I want to make sure that they and
AC Cross.
Okay, AC Cross will be next. We have a panel on family in sci-fi and fiction later, a little bit later on, and oh yes, and another reading by David Green as well. So what was that in here?
There's a workshop with MD Presley, making magic systems work. Fantastic as well. He's a writer to watch out for.
Yes, and he has written his own book on world building, so he's definitely an expert on the topic. Lots of programming. I encourage you to go to the website and look at the rest of the schedule coming up for the rest of the weekend. And I wish everybody peace and a nice weekend. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you for hosting.
Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you guys.
It's been great.
Nice to meet you too, Scott, Ray, and Sarah.
Are we done?